Right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Through our time together, we'll delve into Chaminade's life and her musical contributions, focusing on her Opus 35 Etudes. This collection serves as a testament to Chaminade's exceptional creativity and artistry, blending technical brilliance with pedagogical excellence and the charming aesthetics of French music. My project advocates for the study and performance of these unjustly neglected concert etudes, aiming to offer practical insights and performance suggestions for future generations interested in Chaminade and her pianism. So who is Chaminade? She was born in Paris to a musical family. George Bizet was once their neighbor, and he recognized Chaminade's talent and called her his little Mozart. Because of Chaminade's father's reservations about her pursuing formal studies at the Paris Conservatory, Chaminade received private lessons from conservatory professors to study piano and composition. In the late 1860s, Chaminade played for Liszt, who found her style similar to that of Chopin. Chaminade did many tours in Europe and the United States during her lifetime. However, she fell into obscurity during the later half of the 20th century, with her piano compositions and songs fading from the repertoire. The notable exception is the flute concertino, which is her most widely recognized and appreciated piece today. Chaminade published nearly 400 works, mainly composed for keyboard and voice. According to Marcia Cetron's research, I counted the precise numbers of Chaminade's published works categorized by genre as illustrated in this table. A significant turning point occurred after her father's passing, prompting Chaminade to rely on her compositional career as the family's primary source of income. Around 1890, she shifted her focus away from large-scale works to more marketable character pieces. Most of Chaminade's notable chamber and orchestral works were published before 1890. The sixth etude, the concert, although designed for advanced pianists, reflects Chaminade's character piece style. Chaminade was influenced by the Romantic era. Her works present lyricism, beautiful melodies with expression, and technical brilliance. As Chaminade stated, I am essentially of the Romantic school, as all my work shows. Typically, her compositions adhere to diatonic structures, featuring notes that progress in smaller intervals and a recurring rhythmic pattern. After hearing Chaminade's concerts, many reviewers praised her elegance, modesty, and delicacy in her compositions and playing with a seamless technique. Here's a quote directly from Mr. de Koven. She is a real artist in interpretation, especially in her accompaniments. Her playing is marked by grace, delicacy, and a fluent technique. Okay, so now I want to play a game with me. So please put your fist on your table and then put your second finger on the table like this and try to lift it up. Okay, good, we all can do it. All right, and also let's try to do our third finger and then lift it up. Good. Okay, now comes our pinky, small guy. Awesome. All right, okay, now let's try our fourth finger. Please lift it up. Move, move. Anyone can move that? Urshan can do it a little bit, actually. Okay, so just by doing this small game, we recognize the Chinese school, which emphasized on the independency and stability of each finger without even influence the raised and forearm, is actually quite against human body ergonomics. And we've probably all heard of this game that he liked to play with his students to put a coin on top of the hand and see if you can still move your fingers fluently without letting the coin to drop. It's pretty crazy and insane, right? Because it's against human body nature. And the other point...
Czerny, right?
Czerny.
You're saying that Czerny did this thing with the dime.
Yes, with the dime. And the other thing I wanted to point out is that Czerny emphasized on the thumb to be the pivot point of the whole arm. So we can actually see a lot of Czerny etudes which are written on the white keys, a lot of this gesture, a lot of etudes like that, until years later when Chopin wrote this famous black key etude, Opus 10, number 5, and which subverted the whole world's traditional cognition. And people started to realize that, wow, actually we can put our thumb on the black keys and then play that fast. So how to achieve that? Because Chopin believed the relaxation of the hands. And in this case, he emphasized as the third finger, use the third finger as the pivot to apply the wrist rotation. So I like to encourage all of us to keep this concept in mind as we delve into Chaminade's concert etudes and ask questions like what kind of aspects in terms of technique and pedagogical purposes that she was trying to advocate for in these etudes. Okay, so the sixth etudes, the concert opus 35, composed around 1885 and published in 1886. Each etude is given a descriptive title and dedicated to a specific individual. A prevalent stylistic approach in these etudes is that while they pose technical challenges, they should not sound excessively difficult. Listening to Chaminade's recordings, one can discern the light, nimble quality of her playing, characterized by charm and apparent ease. Among the significant lessons that I gleaned from studying Chaminade's etudes is the refinement of motor skills and precise positioning of the arms, hands, wrists, and fingers to achieve the optimal balance of voices and ideal sound effects. In the following section of this lecture, I will offer some practice techniques, performance suggestions, and stylistic interpretation insights for each etude. Because of the time limits, I selected a few excerpts from each etude as representations. So my research on Chaminade's concert etudes aims not only to highlight the beauty and the importance of studying these pieces, but also to provide pianists with practical and hopefully invaluable guidance to master both the technical aspects and to maintain a refined interpretation of Chaminade's compositions. So the first etude is a scherzo, implying a playful and dance-like demeanor. It is a great study for developing a consistent staccato touch with lightness and precision. It requires relaxation and strategic wrist and finger positioning approach to execute it in a fast tempo with a cheerful character. So throughout this piece, Chaminade uses various combinations of alternating intervals. The beginning measures mainly feature combinations of alternating fourths and fifths, as well as thirds and sixths. The changes between harmonic intervals require significant technical precision. And how the wrists are positioned at the start is crucial to getting the right movement and sound. The left hand holds the longer note value in the eighth notes without staccato markings, while the right hand plays the 16th notes with a crisper touch. What I noticed is the importance of being mindful of how we move each hand slightly differently. For the left hand, which has a more grounded sound, it's best to keep the wrist lower and fingers flatter. Use the third finger as the pivot and rotate your wrist as you play. The right hand, which has more melody, needs a higher wrist position for easier movement to bring out the melodic line played by the fourth and fifth fingers. The passage presents a challenge because the top notes of the right hand carry the melody. So as pianists, we often focus on the fourth and fifth fingers during practice, forgetting about the bottom voice, which uses the first and second finger in this case. This can strain our weaker fingers easily and cause fatigue very quick. It also against the good hand positioning and gracefulness in sound. To address this, pay more attention to the second finger during practice. This helps relax the right hand and ensures a good sound for the melodic notes played by the fourth and fifth fingers. Okay, so left hand, lower wrist position, and using the third as the pivot point to rotate. Right hand slightly higher wrist position. And when we practice, instead of focusing on, okay, I need to try to bring out the top notes like this, focus on the bottom, and the bottom voices features the first and second finger. By doing this, not only you can relax, and the sound will be better. Like this. From measure 9 to 12, executing the linear motion with a two-note slur gesture, alternating between the fourth and fifths while emphasizing the melodic line, presents a challenge. I suggest using the third finger for the first note of each slur in both hands. Keep your fingers close to the keys to create a smooth, connected sound. And using the same finger in both hands helps us to focus and play accurately. Also, be careful not to play the bass notes too loudly in the left hand, as they could overshadow the delicate melody. Regarding wrist positioning, keep the left hand wrist slightly higher than the right hand to have a more delicate sound. Okay, so when we're doing performance, since it's already so difficult, if we're thinking, okay, left hand, we need to play softer than the right hand, it's just adding another thought when we perform. So at the beginning, try to keep your left hand a little bit higher than the right hand. So by doing this, we can naturally ensure the left hand sound is softer. Another hallmark of Chaminade's writing style is the double thirds passage, and this gesture also shown in her other piano compositions. I recommend using the second finger and the fourth fingers consistently for the consecutive double thirds while maintaining a relaxed wrist to facilitate swift execution with a light texture. So using 2/4 but still elevated wrist position. And leaning towards the right side while you're executing this. So I have this kind of flying bird gesture. Okay, so the next etude, second etude, Autumn, was one of the most popular pieces among Chaminade's piano works. She composed this piece during one of her annual stays with her family in Perigord. Typically in September and October, Autumn was inspired by the beautiful scenery in Perigord. Some of the challenges include to maintain a delicate balance between the melody and the accompaniment, and to maintain meticulous finger control and seamless transitions between sections, and each characterized by distinct musical traits, and also to achieve a legato and expressive melody rendition pose a challenge. The theme of the first section shows simplicity with a sweetness that shouldn't verge into excessive rubato. Maintaining a steady pace is essential, embracing simplicity and a warm sound for a fitting interpretation. To achieve this warm sound quality, pianists should keep both hands fully relaxed on the keyboard, emphasizing relaxing the thumb, which carries the melodic notes. Unwanted accents on these main notes can easily disrupt the flow, so a beneficial practice approach is to focus solely on these melodic notes using the thumb. And this approach could help pianists to discern the relationships between these vital melodic notes, thus enhancing the ideal phrasing and a quasi-finger legato effect. Wrist rotation is essential for both hands. When playing double note harmonies, maintain a flat and relaxed palm to keep the harmony clear but soft without overshadowing the melody. This technique helps achieve the desired sound effect. Okay, the second section, initiated by moto stringendo, demands careful pacing and timing to avoid prematurely heightening the excitement. The moto stringendo should gradually build up over 4 measures from 8 to 11, leading to a resolution at measure 12. Chaminade adds more chromatic notes here to increase tension and emotion. It's essential to keep the left-hand chromatic line clear so it can be heard alongside the right-hand melody. Practicing the bass line separately and listen carefully can help with clarity. Then the impetuous and fiery B section marked Canfico comes at measure 30, which reveals a significant contrast with the A section. The intense section features contrasting colors and harmonies, highlighted by diminished chords in a chromatic progression, which demands a robust technique with consistent wrist rotation. This section starts with the F minor chord, wherein the right hand carries the melodic notes C, C, D flat, the circle ones, using both the thumb and the fifth finger from measure 30 to 31. Pianists tend to overemphasize the left-hand bass while overlooking the importance of the right-hand melodic elements, especially that are moving very fast. One helpful practice suggestion is to play the block chords with the right hand, enabling the pianist to distinctly hear the chord progression and swiftly grasp the hand's overall position, facilitating smoother transitions. Another method involves attentive listening to the thumb and the fifth finger, incorporating wrist rotation and maintaining relaxation throughout the playing process. So this is what we could do during practice. Block chord and listen attentively with the thumb notes and the fifth notes, fifth finger notes. So between 1901 and 1907, Chaminade recorded nearly 20 pieces of her compositions. Autumn was the only etude from Opus 35 that she recorded. Her playing reflects the French school of piano technique. She maintained a moderate and generally steady tempo throughout the A section, occasionally applying rubato at the conclusion of each phrase. The B section, while thrilling, retained a sense of moderation without being excessively dramatic. Her dynamics were characterized by subtlety rather than overt drama. And the third etude is titled Felius, which translates to spinner in English, where fil means thread and use conveys femininity. Thus, the literary meaning of Felius implies a woman at the spinning wheel. The challenges include maintaining a light texture with clarity and evenness, consistent application of raised rotation, circular motion, and relaxation. Good pedaling control makes this piece more colorful. So Felius begins with a two-measure introduction of running 16th notes, illustrating the sound of a spinning wheel. To achieve a light, fast, clear, and rolling sound effect, keeping the entire hand relaxed with a slightly elevated wrist position to create a lighter touch and allow the fingers to rest on the keys naturally. Regarding finger placement, use the fleshy part of our fingers to create a warm and light tone. Treat the 16th note as one gesture, moving your hand in small circular motion with the third finger as the pivot. Ensure evenness in tone and clarity by emphasizing the entire slur and letting the pivot finger naturally bring out the other notes. When the left-hand chords come in at measure 3, keep the bass line prominent, but not too aggressive. Also, experiment with pedal levels to create different colors. Start with a light touch for the first two measures, deepen slightly at measure 3 for the left-hand melody. So at the beginning, I would use both una coda pedal, and now we can experience the pedal level tiny bit for the first two introductory measures. And then at measure 3, I would release the soft pedal and then deepen a little bit for the damper pedal in order for the left-hand melody speaks. And in terms of finger positions, keep the wrist slightly higher and using the fleshy part of the finger. One gesture. Okay, so from measure 7 to 10, achieving a rapid yet clear staccato touch requires keeping the fingers close to the keys and relying more on the fingertips. This produces a slightly sharper sound compared to the warmer and more flowing texture found in the opening measures of this piece. So from measure 7, we're not using the fleshy part anymore. Instead, using the fingertips more here, but still pretty much on the key. So you can hear this clearly by using the fingertips. The next section requires an exceedingly flexible and springy wrist in the left hand. The recommended fingers can help with maintaining a natural hand position on the black keys without creating any unwanted accents, while keeping the wrist free to execute the circular rotational motion effectively. So left hand, keep the wrist very flexible. Apply a little bit wrist rotation using the second finger as the pivot. While right hand, Still circular motion. Spinning wheel gesture. Etc. Towards the end of Fugues, following a series of 16th note passages that mimic the sound of a spinning wheel, Chaminade surprisingly marked fortissimo of an E major arpeggiated chord in the final measure. Her intention here was likely to give us a surprise or an unexpected sound effect. However, if a pianist executes this fortissimo after passages marked pianissimo and pianissimo, the sudden increase in volume may sound too harsh and abrupt, lacking aesthetic coherence. We may consider experimenting with maintaining the soft dynamics for the last E major chord to see how it affects the overall interpretation. So here I'll be offering two choices, and there's freedom, always freedom in interpretation. See which one you like better. The fourth etude is entitled Appassionato, reflecting its passionate and virtuosic nature. This etude also serves as the third movement of Chaminade's piano sonata in C minor, published in 1895. I personally think this one and the sixth etude are the hardest one from this set. This piece employs numerous repetitive and sequential motifs to foster mastery in controlling the melody, particularly in the context of two-note slurs. The beginning of Appassionato is organized into two measure phrases. The presence of two-note slurs indicates that the upper notes from a melodic line. It's important not to let the second note of the slur to drop, as this can lead to a disjointed and uneven sound. This shows the problem of naturally emphasizing the top melody with the fifth finger while potentially neglecting the following notes played by the second fingers of both hands. A helpful approach involves shifting focus away from accentuating the top melody and instead concentrating more on the second finger notes. This technique contributes to achieving balance and texture in the passages. While maintaining the two-note slur gesture, it's essential to execute hand movements without excessive up and down motion from the wrist to prevent the sound from being choppy. Another valuable practice technique involves working on blocked chords to establish precise hand positioning and facilitate rapid transition between positions. So as pianists, we're just so naturally when you see the two-note slur, we're doing this up and down motion, but it doesn't work very well with this piece because when we're doing this, not only that create this choppy sound, but also interrupt the bigger phrase structure, which is this two measures phrase. So we can try block chord practice and also intentionally think more about the second finger instead of the top notes. Because we know the top note features the melody, so we're gonna play this anyway. From measures 59 to 69, it's crucial to remember that all the accents marked by Chaminade represent the melodic notes. Instead of creating harsh accents on each note, strive to maintain a sense of lyrical elements and form longer phrasing line. The climax occurs at measure 127 with fortissimo dynamics. By this point, pianists may have experienced fatigue, finding it challenging to maintain stamina after a long workout session from the beginning until this moment. Therefore, it is imperative to be strategic and refrain from forcibly pressing the keys to achieve loud dynamics in this section, especially considering that the right-hand notes are written in the higher register with a broken chord gesture. How can one physically execute the 3Fs that easily in terms of the context? This question underscores the importance of employing efficient techniques and maintaining physical health while striving for the desired sound intensity and the balance between the hands. Although the left-hand chords are marked marcato, they should not be executed too forcefully for several reasons. One reason is to maintain endurance and prevent strain to avoid injuries. And also, these left-hand chords also contribute to a melodic element and phrase within the broader musical context. To maintain balance between the hands, it's advisable to play the left-hand chords with a slightly softer touch in legato instead, particularly consider the high register of the melodic notes in the right hand. So when we practice this passage, instead of doing this marcato from up and down motion, try legato in a softer dynamics. So we still can hear the top notes easily with maintain a better balance instead of doing this. Okay, so the fifth etude is capricious and improvisatory in nature. It features left-hand broken chord accompaniment to create a sense of fluidity, while the right hand carries the melody with two voices. The phrasing may appear ambiguous, deviating from the traditional four-bar phrase. Some of the challenges include to sustain a prolonged phrase with consistent tone quality and a good ear for the complex texture, and to maintain a good balance between rhythmic precision and musical flow. And also this piece features a lot of rolling chords. Timing is another form of art in this piece. So this etude involves frequent root chords, as addressed earlier. To uphold rhythmic clarity and cleanliness in the root chords, it is recommended to initiate them with the last 16th note of the first beat of the bass line. For example, at measure 3, playing the arpeggiated chords with the F of the left hand on the second downbeat may cause a delay in the right hand rhythm and a sense of rush to the root chord. So it's suggested that the arpeggiated chord be played with the left hand's last C of the first beat. And as the music transitions to the B section, a challenge arises, striking a delicate balance between mechanical precision in rhythm and note clarity while maintaining the musical flow. In the left-hand bass line, the rhythmic challenge lies in preserving the sense of two big beats, while the right hand features the triplet rhythmic pattern. And at measure 33, the last one on this slide, it's crucial to sustain the final chord of the right hand to make a seamless connection to the G major chord at measure 33, thus fostering a fluid transition between sections. And connect to the G for the next part. So Chaminade marked this section as volante, implying movement with light rapidity. This section demands finger agility while upholding a delicate texture, transitioning between flowing passages and the crisp staccato articulation of the double thirds at measures 38 and 40. Having a sense of imagination greatly aids in interpreting this piece and achieving the desired sound, texture, and color. For example, during the volante section, envisioning the texture and motion of a flying bird can enhance the interpretation of the running arpeggios. So here I would, in terms of body positioning, sit back a little bit and use the soft pedal. And then flying bird if you have an imaginative mind. And when you get to the staccato section, for me personally, the helpful thing is to imagining a bird singing. So the last etude, tarantelle, is a typical tarantella dance in 6/8. This piece presents tough challenges and requires strong stamina, especially for players with smaller hands, me included. The fast tempo and big intervals in broken chords make it more difficult. Even though it starts with forte, it's better not to play too forcefully to save energy. Also, the compositional texture remains relatively thin at this point, with a light dance element prevailing. A more aggressive interpretation may not align aesthetically with a typical Chaminade style. The recommended fingering helps with hand positions and wrist rotation. Keeping a relaxed hand is important to avoid injuries, especially with the big stretches in the left hand. So left hand, we're doing this like intense stretches from F sharp to D. And if you have small hands, it's really, really important to keep your whole hand relaxed on the key. And right hand treat this as a more melodic gesture would be helpful to interpret the musicality. Several passages in this piece pose challenges due to the rapid tempo and the combination of leaps followed by chords. In addition to keep the hands close to the keys in a relaxed position and pulling wrist rotation, it's beneficial to pay attention to the left-hand thumb notes of the chords to ensure they are consistently played, as they are prone to be missed. So when pianists practice, we tend to bring out this precision and let every note speak, and then we started to have this inject printer gesture, I call it, on the keyboard, something like that. It's not very helpful with this piece. So instead of doing that gesture, think more as like you're waving at someone. Relax your hand and make sure the top notes are speaking. And in a way, even it doesn't marked with legato, but the mindset is that if we think about this as a two-note slur gesture, it will help with the sound effect. Okay, and then Chaminade's specific marking of accents on the last chord of each triplet figure from measures 330 to 333 suggests maintaining a light touch in the left-hand octaves to evoke this syncopated rhythmic sensation throughout this passage. And this sensation persists until the arrival at the tonic chord in D major at measure 334, accompanied by a running arpeggio gesture featuring third and the fifth intervals. It is advisable to use the second and fourth fingers for the thirds, D and F sharp, on the top voice when descending to ensure better key position control and more secure execution when playing these notes. So here's the syncopation rhythmic. In conclusion, Chaminade's 6 concert etudes showcases her mature concert style and offers pianists valuable practice and performance opportunities. Studying these pieces goes beyond technical skills, encouraging a deeper exploration of musical expression and stylistic nuances. Each etude has its own character, from whimsical humor to nostalgic passages, emphasizing musicality over mere technical proficiency. As we delve into Chaminade's compositions, we appreciate the charm and strength praised by Theodore Misiac. She remains faithful to the French style, to that style of reason, of clarity, of inspiration, of grace, of elegance, of grandeur, of wisdom, and of order, to that style to which we owe so many masterpieces. And just as Lao Tzu describes in the Dao De Jing, we make a vessel from a lump of clay. It is the empty space within the vessel that makes it useful. We make doors and windows for a room, but it is these empty spaces that make the room livable. Thus, while the tangible has advantages, it is the intangible that makes it useful. Similarly, in music, it is the intangible, our intentions and thoughts behind each note that imbue the tangible compositions with profound musicality and resonance. Thus, the interplay between technique and intention underscores the transformative power of musical expression. By integrating technical expertise with our lived experiences, we interpret Chaminade's music with more sensitivity and depth. While her compositions may not be monumental, they possess a delicate beauty that enriches the musical landscape, adding refinement and allure to music appreciation. And here are my bibliography. I want to express a sincere gratitude to Marcia Sessions, who offered us an invaluable book called Biobibliography that features many incredible resources in this book. And thank you all so much for joining me tonight. I'd like to thank all of my committee members, Dr. Korver, Dr. Kupperstock, and Dr. Caballero, and Professor Jennings, Dr. Kermaski, for guiding me throughout this process. And especially thank you for Dr. Korver, as we spent a lot of time for the past year to dig into the technique and how the technique can help with musicality, which inspired me to do this research project. Thank you so much, and any questions?
I have one. So thank you for that enlightening presentation. I like your fingerings, so I'm not asking about that. I wonder, it's interesting that she writes a book of etudes, but I don't see any of her own fingerings.
The thing is that I didn't think she wrote any fingerings.
So it's the print is uniformly free of fingerings?
Yeah, just like no fingering
interesting.
markings.
Okay.
Yeah, and not only in this set, in her other piano compositions as well.
Were you able to compare different editions, or is there just one? There's one on IMSLP that I downloaded.
Right, I think for this set there's only one version on IMSLP, but for one of the pieces I remember it's the Flatter La Lissangere, so that one has different versions actually, and if I remember correctly, some editions do have a few fingering suggestions coming from other people.
Well, they're not her fingerings.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, and I don't think there's any fingerings for the piano trio number 2 that I played either.
Can you tell us how much do we know about her, the size of her hands, the shape of her hands, her physique generally?
I think I read it in Marcia Sessions' book. It seems like she has big hands and her technique is good. Yeah, and then we can also tell from her piano writing as well. Yeah, she's virtuosic.
Do we get to hear any of these?
Etude?
Yeah.
Okay, Urshan, can you help me turning page?
Oh,
I think I can play Felius.
Yeah. It would be nice to have something put together.
Okay. Alright, no repeat.
Tell us which ones you're going to do.
I'll play the third one, Felius.
With this stack. Okay. Good to know.
way, which ending you prefer.
I
It's right now. I was paying attention, but I'm fascinated.
I had this discussion with Dr. Cora during our lesson today. Not today, like before. I personally prefer the piano version. I think it's just like fits the overall aesthetic.
It's hard, it's easy to understand.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Did you think about, I mean, it's not FF, it's SFF. So SF and there's an SF in the next piece, the Appassionato Measure 3. So different composers use those, the S, the sport, bring it out, right?
Yeah.
Used it for different reasons. So I think one can justify a number of different dynamic levels for the final chord. SFF is kind of a striking. It's really
It does
hard.
look- it does look
It's
like
kind
shooting
of
loud.
it's kind of hard to make the Fs go away, right? So
It probably just like a expression gesture at the
Yeah.
end, such as a lot of, I feel like Chaminade's she likes to use accents, but I don't think she actually meant the accents that we usually, like the way we interpret. It's more like a part of the melodic gesture.
Well, the egogic accents that you stretch the note out, like Chopin often does.
Right.
it could mean a really slow arpeggio, for instance. That could be another way of interpreting it.
Mm.
I just thought that one there is a sudden one though.
Yeah,
It does look like it should be a 7 loud.
it does because of the pedal mark and the rest, right?
It's very hard to make it work.
It depends on what kind of pianos did she tend to play. Oh, we saw one of them there. But that wouldn't be her concert piano, that might be her a piano at home, or it might be the photographer's one. So if you've got an ending like that with sforzandissimo, it's going to be very different than a Steinway D from what it might be in an 1870s era.
Yeah, and I felt like during her period, the piano is already capable of create different dynamics and colors. It's probably not as grand as the Steinway we have today, but I think it's definitely capable of making that surprising contrast. But what I noticed in general from her own recordings, that even though she's capable of making that dynamic contrast, she tends to be reserved and moderate in terms of dynamic contrast.
I've got no scholarship for this, but that last chord, the sforzandissimo one, gives me an idea, and it's something to do with what one of my teachers once taught me, that I'd be tempted to put the soft pedal down for that and play it very strongly and dry. I
Yeah,
don't know if you've tried that.
maybe we can try it now.
Because then it means you don't get the heaviness, but you get the dryness, the sudden.
Maybe a quicker pedal release.
I was thinking the pedal release immediately played it. It's like a strum of mandolins and guitars.
You mean like still holding the soft pedal down, right?
It
Still
doesn't make
holding-
any difference once you've played.
Okay.
And then let the other,
And-
let the
oh,
big
okay.
pedal. That's it.
Oh, okay.
It's
Yeah, I
nice
feel
that-
like for this ending there is like a lot of interpretations that we can do.
It's nice to have options.
Yeah.
You can play one way today and one way tomorrow.
Yeah. Exactly, and it depends on the mood.
I can't help but think of gender a little bit, because this is, like Raffinot's is romantic idea and about a woman who's spinning, but yet a virtuosic etude at the same time. How does it feel when you're playing it as a kind of a mix of beautiful and virtuosic and brilliant and melodic and
I think Chaminade is one of these multifaceted composers. There are a lot of different aspects, different characters in her music. As we can see, Foulus is quite feminine, but I feel like Appassionato is the one. Could be, if you do not know the composer, it could be you could guess like Beethoven or something. Yeah.
But I'm not sure that even every part of La Filo's is feminine.
Yeah,
There
and
seem
then,
some parts that seem
right. I also feel femininity also maintains a lot of variety
That's
as
true.
well, right?
touche. You're right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's that could be a very dangerous discussion.
Only recorded too.
That's right.
I thank you for introducing me to these pieces, and do you think another edition is in order?
Another edition you're talking about besides this?
I think maybe you should think about making an edition and, including all your fingerings and ideas.
I was thinking about that, and I talked to this idea with Urshan the other day when we were having lunch. I thought that could be something interesting to do.
This might be a way a little bit off the range of your project, but have you had a chance to find out if there are manuscripts of these pieces still around?
Manuscript, no, actually so far from the pieces that I personally studied, I haven't found any manuscript yet.
If the first place you could look, and it's very easy, if you go online, you go to BNF, Bibliothèque Nationale de France.fr, you can go into the catalogue, and I think you can make it go into English, and you can do searches and see what they have of hers, and you can select so that it doesn't give you hundreds of things you don't want.
Oh,
And it
okay.
might tell you if they've got manuscripts.
Oh, that's cool. And then,
And the good thing is that a lot of them have now been scanned, so you can see them online. You don't have to-
oh, nice. And that website's called BNF?
Pardon?
ENF.fr.
I can tell you.
BNF, yes,
Oh.
it'll tell you.
And you can filter, as Professor Howard is saying, you can filter your search, so only manuscripts.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
you don't get a bunch of recordings.
I have a suspicion that there's very little left.
And it may not be at the BNF.
Yeah.
It may
Yeah.
be in some
Yeah, it
odd
could be, yeah.
corner. I mean, didn't she moved, remember, we found out she moved to the south of France and sort of lived in a nice house
Yeah.
down there she bought with her husband's
I was
legacy.
just thinking of that's a place to start at the BNF.
It might be an excuse for a nice trip.
That's what I was saying. I read it immediately.
You don't want all this stuff online.
I do it online, if you wish.
You gotta figure
But
out.
I
where
bet
the
the
pages-
Citrin book maybe has some clues about her manuscript legacy, right? The Biobibliography by Marcia Citrin.
I scanned through and I
Nothing?
don't remember.
There's
she
very
mentioned.
little. I read that book fairly carefully, and I think she did a pretty good job of discovering that there's very little information. The end result is that it's a remarkably sparse record.
Yeah.
Well, it would be a different project than this
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, right.
Good. Well, we look forward to hearing the recordings too, because that's the next phase of all of this.
Awesome.
Mostly done, I think, right?
Yeah.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Betsy.
all.